Hey everyone, it's Leanne. Welcome to another video on my YouTube channel. Today I'm making a holiday card, and for this card I'm mostly using a bunch of Lawn Fawn products. I love Lawn Fawn. Their stuff is awesome, so I'm really excited about this card. The materials I used, I started with an A2 size folded card base. I have a top folded card here. And then I'm using the Lawn Fawn Fancy Scalloped Rectangle Stackables borders. I have some mixed media cardstock. I'm going to cut that out with that. And then this is the stamp set Snow Cool from Lawn Fawn. It's the cute little penguin one. I love it. And I have the coordinating dies as well. And then I'm going to use the Merry Messages stamp set that's also from Lawn Fawn. I just want to use one of those stacked Christmas messages for this. So I'm going to use Distress Inks as well. I love Distress Inks. I have Squeezed Lemonade and Salty Ocean from Tim Holtz. These are so fantastic for making such pretty blended backgrounds. These are the the ink blenders that I also use for those. And I'm going to bring in some pearlescent colors from the Finetec company. I love those as well. They're very nice and opaque, so you can lay them on top of almost any media and they show up really vibrant. So I'm going to prepare my background first. I'm going to use that stackable border to just die cut out from a piece of mixed media cardstock. I'm using mixed media because I want to use the Tim Holtz Distress Inks on that background. So I want that nice creamy blend, and I find that this cardstock works the best. I'm using the Strathmore mixed media cardstock. It was a little tough to get through my Sizzix Big Kick machine, but it did come out okay. So I'm just taking a pencil and popping out any of the little scallops that kind of are stuck in the holes. They pop out pretty easily. You just have to take a pen or something. At this point I have a pencil that doesn't have the lead pushed out. Now I'm going to prepare the background. I'm going to use some painter's tape. I want to keep the white edge. So I want it to kind of look like it's in a frame, and that Distress Ink only lays within the center part of the background. So I'm going to trim this down, and I'm going to mask around that edge and find where the ridge is. It's kind of hard to see on camera because it's white on white, but there's a little bit of a bevel on the edge where the scallop starts. So I'm using that as my guide to put down the tape. At one point it got a little tricky because I cut the tape so straight it was hard to tell which side was the actual outside edge. I wanted to make sure I used the very edge of the tape so it was the exact straight edge, but I got it figured out okay. I also have this over top of some scrap paper as well, so that in case I go over the edge with my Distress Ink, it's not going to make too much of a mess. If you have a craft sheet, you could also use that as well. And so I'm just masking the top part. I'm going to leave the bottom a white, a base, and then just gradiate to that white. So I'm using the Squeezed Lemonade first, and you'll notice that even though I'm using a blue and a yellow, the colors don't really come out that way. They mix really nicely together, and I get some really pretty green colors, and that's what I'm looking for this holiday card. So I had been practicing on a spare sheet to make sure that the colors were what I wanted. So my yellow actually already is a little bit green, but if you started with yellow and didn't have that green look, it would still come out the same once you blend those colors together. So I'm bringing in the Salty Ocean, and this is a new stamp set for me, or a new ink pad I mean, so it's got lots of ink in it, so I didn't need very much. I think just coming in 3 times, once off the top middle and then once off each corner at the top, lays down enough ink to create a nice even blend at least halfway down the card. And then I came back in with my yellow Distress Ink blender just to mix the middle part where they meet, and that gives me that kind of lime greenish color that you see with the yellow. And then I love the way the top part looks too, because it gets kind of into a turquoisey color. It's a really nice blend. Now to take the tape off, you want to make sure that you pull opposite the direction and keep it flat down when you're pulling. Don't hold it up in the air and pull. Make sure you lay it as flat as possible against the tape itself. And I found that that was the best way to tear it off or pull it off. It didn't have any rips or anything on the paper. So now you can see it has that white edge preserved, and that's what I was after. I'm going to come in with the Finetec now. I love this silver color on the end. It's the brightest, and I thought it looked the closest to snow. So that's what I want to use for splatters. Now at this point I had taken the tape off. I should have left the tape on and did the splatters next because I did want to keep that edge white, so I just laid down some paper over top to protect it. But at this point, if you wanted to do this as well, I would recommend just leaving the tape on, and then you're saving a little bit of extra material. Now I'm going to make a bunch of these, so I'm creating a frame. I'm going to put some post-it tape on the sheets that I have as my border, just to keep those together, and then I can keep laying this frame down on the multiple versions that I make. My mom and I are participating in a craft fair next month, and I've never done one before. I'm very excited, but we're going to offer these cards at our craft fair. So I'm going to come in with some Distress ink. Now I tried this first, and I wasn't actually happy with it, and I went back and changed it, but I'll show you what it looks like. So I'm going to use a Grumbacher number 8 round watercolor brush, just adding some water to that Distress ink to activate it and make it look like watercolor or behave like watercolor, and then using that to splatter some texture on the background. I just found that the Salty Ocean was too dark, especially with the way the blends ended up being, that they were lighter and you didn't really have any visual blue. So I wasn't really crazy about that look, and I did change it. But I did come in after with the Finetec Pearl color and just splatter that over top, and that's kind of to create the snow effect. And as I mentioned, Finetec paints are very opaque, so even though they're kind of a watercolor consistency, they will hold up their own color over top of any background color. So they're really pretty, and especially if the light catches them because of that pearl, they give a real nice sheen. So I thought that this was really pretty, and when I was done, I looked at this and felt that the blue splatters were a little busy, but I did like just the white. So I'll show you another one. I did make a new background and came in and reapplied it. So it was good that I had that frame saved. I was able to put that back down over top really easily. And then I just came in with the Finetec. I love the way this looked. It was a lot softer and still gave that snow effect, but was more prominent. And because this is a lighter card overall, it has a white outside edge, and then I'm putting it on a white base, I just felt it was a better balance. And the splatter part is really fun, but you have to be careful because in my case, I'm working on my art desk, and usually I splatter and it ends up all over my Copic markers, and then I have to scratch off the little paint splatters. So this time I was smart and I masked out my area. I hung up some sheets around my work area so the splatter didn't travel. Now I'm ready to do my stamping. I'm going to use the two penguins from the stamp set, Very Simple, and I'm using Memento Tuxedo Black colored ink for the Copic coloring. And I'm stamping these on Neenah Solar White cardstock. I really like that for using Copic markers with. So here are the two penguins, and I'm going to keep them pretty basic and light colors. My goal here was to use very light colored Copic markers so that everything was very bright and not too heavy or dark. And so I'll list all the colors below in the description if you're curious about any shades that I used. So because these stamps aren't too involved, it's basic shading too, I wanted to keep them light, so I'm just doing a soft gradient from the top down, just kind of lightly brushing my marker and then lifting off as I get near the bottom, so it creates that kind of blend from white to the color. And then I'm coming in with a little bit of a darker color to create a shadow just at the top, and then a little bit of shadow details too. So I'm going to do around the nose or the beaks, and a little bit of shadow detail under the eyes as well, because they have their eyes closed, so I imagine that there would be a little ridge underneath their eyes. Maybe from their smiles, you'd see a little bit of a shadow there. Now I want these guys to have bright pink cheeks. They're out in the cold, I assume, maybe at the North Pole or wherever it's cold. So I want to bring in some pink dots for the cheeks, really prominent pink. Usually I would use like an R20 or something very soft, but I want these to be very bright and show well. Now for the one penguin, I'm going to use kind of a blue blend, just kind of referencing the background, the blue in the background. And so I'm just doing the same kind of coloring, very simple, just brushing from the top down, just doing whisks, and as my marker gets towards the bottom part of the coloring area, I just lift my marker so that I get a white blend. And then on the other penguin, I'm going to do green, kind of a turquoise, and that kind of is a throwback to the background as well, that has that color coming through because of the blend. So they look both the same, but they're a little bit different in color, just to give a little variety. And then I decided to do the opposite on their accessories. So on the blue penguin, I'll do green accessories, and on the green penguin, I'll do blue accessories. As I got coloring this, I found that it was getting a little too similar, I guess. The colors were kind of evenly spread and nothing was really popping. So I came in with a bit of a darker color on the toque or the hat here. We call them toques. I think that's a Canadian thing. But on the, I don't know what else it's called, maybe a beanie or something. I wanted to give it kind of a look like it was knitted or crocheted. So I really did prominent marker strokes on the shadows there. And then to help pop these little guys a little bit more, I came in with some purples, which is not present in the background or any other part of the card. So it just adds that little bit of visual interest. And because it's on both penguins, it's not technically a spot color because it's not just in one spot. It's not striking and very noticeable, but it gives a little bit of visual interest because it's balanced between them. As a final detail, I came in with a white gel pen and just tried to make some lines to give a little bit more texture to the hats and the accessories. So this is just to mimic the thought that that is a toque made of wool or yarn that's knitted. I did some dash lines up the top to the beanie, to the top of the pom-pom, and then a couple across the brim. And then with the earmuffs, I just kind of did little strokes going in different directions. So it kind of mimicked fur or faux fur that's ruffled. So now it's time to do the assembly. The background's dry and it's looking really good. I'm going to place the penguins for position just so I know how much space I need for the stamps. I want to use a stacked stamp just because I have the smaller area and it'll fit so nicely in that rectangle. I thought about either using the smiles or there's a Merry Christmas one or Merry something, Merry Holidays or something like that. I did go with the smiles. I thought the penguins looked like they were smiling and so it matched the characters. So I'm going to keep the sentiment to the bottom. I've moved the little characters up so there's enough room for them as well. And then I'll pick that up with my stamp block and I'm using Memento Tuxedo Black ink to match here as well. Now because I have the fine text splatters, the stamp won't go over those, but it's okay because you can still read the message well. And if there is a little bit of splatter within the word mark, it's okay because it looks like snow. It looks like it's snowing and you're outside. And so it kind of gives to the overall visual effect of the winterscape that I created. I'm going to put the penguins on with foam tape just to elevate them a little bit and help them pop a little bit more. So here especially you can see what I mean about the purple not really being a spot color but adding visual interest because it is different from all the other colors in the scene. So now that's ready. I'm going to put this on my card background base. Now I had a hunch when I was doing this that my tape roller would run out of tape. I just had a feeling like I don't know, I just knew it was going to be empty. And so sure enough, I went to tape this and boom, my tape roller is empty and it made this big mess. So I had to come in with some 2-way tape. I have a 3M roll of just like hand roll of tape. So I use that. It's really, really sticky. So it should work really well with the card. So I have that placed in position and here's the final card. It was really fun to create. Simple coloring, simple assembly, and I thought it gave a really nice effect. And you can see the details here as well on the hat and the earmuffs. And so I thought this was a really fun card. I really liked the way it came out. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to give my video a thumbs up. That helps for sure. And subscribe if you'd like to see more videos. Thank you so much for watching.